Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with Josh Scorcher. Tonight, well, hope you're bundled up because we got the top 10 Blizzard fails. So yeah, these guys are known for Hearthstone, Overwatch, I think World of Warcraft, but yeah, let's just say I think their product, like their Aussies, are just falling off the wayside. You know what I mean. Anywho, so without any further ado, let's get this top 10 underway. So be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go. Here we go.
You know, sometimes it's just sad when a company gets one of these lists.
Back in the day, Blizzard was one of the undisputed gods of the PC. Whether it was the deep strategy of StarCraft, the addictive dungeon crawling of Diablo, or the engrossing world of Warcraft, it seemed they could do no wrong. But then, seemingly overnight, things changed.
Activision merger
Over the past decade, we saw Blizzard steadily fall victim to all the other stupid and exploitative tactics we were once sure they would never employ. And with each one, it seems that the once beloved company's grave is steadily being dug.
What happened to you, man? Used to be cool.
I'm still cool.
Nah, you've changed, man.
So let's waste no time. These are the top 10 Blizzard fails.
Bring it on. First up, number 10. Oh. Fair enough. Number 10.
It cannot be understated how unprecedented the sheer magnitude of World of Warcraft was back in 2004. Games becoming global phenomenon overnight just wasn't a thing back then. Over the years, World of Warcraft has received so many updates and expansions that it's become a completely new game 10 times over. Because of that, some fans of earlier versions pine for simpler times and a far lower level cap. So, in response, said players created a vanilla server where you could relive the days of old. Until Blizzard shut it down for no real reason other than because we can.
Yeah. Wow.
The backlash was immense, so much that internet comedian JonTron broke character to rant about it.
How about you just make a good game and then you don't have to take down your old game that's yours and just put the old game up, you'll make your money back, you f***ing idiots!
Turns out that shutting down a fan-created server kinda upsets people, who knew? Clearly everyone except Blizzard. Eventually, Blizzard gave in and provided an official classic server included for free with regular subscriptions, hence why this entry is so low.
Well, it's ironic. Normally, vanilla is the easiest flavor to find.
Hey. Yeah, fair. Number 9. What do you got?
Diablo was an instant hit upon release, thanks to its simple yet addictive combat, deep character customization, and the never-ending hunt for more loot. It
like
practically
DDD
formed
on
a new
PC.
genre. Diablo 2 was even better, to the point where it still has a thriving player-generated economy and a massive expansion mod still under development. Then, after years of waiting, Diablo 3 finally launched, and it wasn't great. Provided you could actually play the game, you were treated to an experience with unbalanced difficulty and an incredibly stingy item drop rate. This led many to suspect that it was an intentional design to have scarce drops so players would be incentivized into making use of the auction house, which used real money.
Correct.
That's sounding a little familiar. Fortunately, future updates along with the Reaper of Souls expansion fixed the issues plaguing the game, and now it's more than worth playing.
And for now,
Keep
the
in mind,
future
this is
looks bright.
before the Activision, right?
Do you not have phones? Yeah, you guys all have phones.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Right.
A wise game designer once said, "A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad." So what's a game that's delayed so many times it eventually becomes cancelled mean to the gaming public?
Disappointed!
Let's face it,
Yeah,
game development is a long, complicated, and messy business. There can be any number of reasons why a project falls through. When you release a game maybe once every 5 years, you might want to be sure that it's going to be finished. According to former boss Mike Morhaime, Blizzard cancels nearly as many projects as it puts out. And some of these projects had a lot of hype and fan expectations behind them. StarCraft Ghost was going to be a third-person shooter, which would have been a departure from the real-time strategy style that the series started as. In it, you take the role of a ghost from the Terran Protectorate, a sort of psychic commando. In 2002, the game was announced and fans of StarCraft were excited for it. But over the course of development, the game was tossed from one developer to another, with Blizzard having to continuously say the game will be released when it's done. Boy, does that sound familiar. So what made them finally cease production?
Because I didn't feel like it.
Another big letdown was when Blizzard wanted to make a new MMO called Project Titan. While info about the game itself is sparse, what we do know is that Blizzard publicly announced they were working on a new title in 2008. Later in 2010, the name Titan was leaked, showing that it had a release plan of 2013. However, every time the project was brought up, Blizzard would always say they had their best MMO people working on it, but would give no specifics. Finally, after years of waiting, fans got an exciting announcement. They're scrapping the whole project and making a new game with the assets created. And that's how Overwatch was made. Make of that however you will. To Blizzard's credit, nearly every game they've released has had a high level of quality and polish to it. And it's understandable that this company will want to keep this reputation. While with hindsight now, with the way Blizzard has been changing over the years, this attitude will or probably has died out. Pour one out for all these lost games. They may not have lived long, but they will in our hearts.
I would love to, but I can't reach it.
Yeah, let's be real. Wolf. I think some of that was before the merger, but boy. I don't know if maybe they just ran out of funding or they just couldn't produce it anymore, or could be creative controls that were just like Timon said, I didn't feel like it. You know, that never know with game development. Could just change like that. Anywho, moving on. Ooh.
A lot of gaming companies seem to forget that it's important to listen to criticism and concerns because it shows that you care about your customers, even if it is for their money. And then there's Blizzard, who substitutes validating concerns with really bizarre pandering. What do I mean by this?
Well, I'll tell you, when the sun hits the issue just right, that happens.
For context, during an interview at the Overwatch League Arena, someone in the audience flashed the OK signal with their hands, and rumors spread about that gesture actually being a white supremacist symbol. And how did Blizzard respond? By calmly explaining that it could have just been a misunderstanding, or...
You're all banned! Banned!
They just flew off the handle and decided to ban the use of the symbol entirely. From an outsider's perspective, I can understand why they'd lay down the hammer, because there are people who would take advantage of the gesture to harass people. However, to punish those who use the symbol innocently just because some idiots decided to stir up some trouble is not okay.
I tell ya, I heard of pandering to the alt-right, but no one ever said anything about the control left, am I right?
Bro.
I get no respect, let me tell you.
Speaking of respect, this brings up another story of Blizzard's poor attempt at damage control. 76 from Overwatch is apparently gay. For someone dead that we've never seen or heard before now. Okay, here's the thing about representation. It needs to feel natural and respectful. But here, 76 suddenly being gay comes completely out of nowhere and feels kind of like a lazy decision. It's the sort of milquetoast, easily edited out activism that doesn't offend China. It doesn't help that this news came out dangerously close to the wake of the Ellie scandal, where a male player made a fake female username as a social experiment against the unfair treatment of female gamers. To be fair, it was probably just poor timing on Blizzard's part, but that's not the point. With so many big companies trying to pull this wishy-washy, trendy progressivism on their customers, you shouldn't be surprised if people get suspicious of your true intentions, especially of the timing being so close to controversy. Needless to say, Blizzard has not been that great at salvaging its reputation lately. They tried to do damage control, only to end up doing more harm than good, or embarrassing themselves with forced decisions that feel more like a cash grab than a respectful depiction. At least with Tracer's butt, they... fixed it?
It's still there! Hey, I know what you mean. Number 6.
If you thought WoW Classic was weird, now it's time for WoW Zero.
World of Warcraft has been Blizzard's most famous product for a good portion of the 2000s and still is today. Well, if you don't count Diablo and Overwatch. Anyways, with how long the game has been running and all the expansions that come from it, not all of them will be winners. Though for a while, it seemed like everything was fine. Each expansion was getting good reviews, even the one that was just Blizzard's Kung Fu Panda. But then, Battle for Azeroth came out. The early reviews of the game were pretty decent, but then things started getting weird as you progress to level 120 and beyond. For one, the game limits your options for certain events. By adding timed gates and conditions for PvP and PvE, it becomes much harder to do some of the more challenging content for hardcore players, as they would have to wait for entire player legions to clear the unnecessary grind for events that didn't exist before. Even worse is the armor progression system that was added. Since getting stronger armor and weapons is the biggest way to get stronger after hitting the level cap, it is very important to have a strong system to help players do it easier. Well, in this expansion, you get Hearth of Azeroth, which has a level attached to it. The higher the level, the more perks you may get from it. The problem is, perks on stronger equipment have higher Hearth level requirements, so any equipment you get is worthless unless you've been grinding that. And even worse is that the same types of items could have entirely different requirements despite being the same.
Yeah, I see what's going on down there, but I can't read it all.
And don't get me started on how some equipment doesn't even have perks and how the perks themselves are actually pretty bland and meaningless. So grinding them isn't even worth it in most cases. For some reason, Battle for Azeroth was an attempt to limit the amount of customization in World of Warcraft without improving on anything. It took out all the good things about its previous expansion and didn't add anything of major substance. It's funny, since the previous expansion, Legion, was one of the best ones according to fans, so to get this afterward feels like a bad joke.
Yes, I'm in the face.
Wow, did they screw this one up?
No pun intended?
Wow is the expletive, not wow is the acronym. Next number!
Yeah. Next. I think 5, right? Yep. Called it.
Diablo 3, despite its rocky start, eventually ended up being pretty great. I put it on my favorite games list for a reason. Fast forward to BlizzCon 2018, where Blizzard had a special announcement for a new Diablo game. Was this the long-awaited Diablo 4?
No.
Blizzard instead used this once-a-year event to announce a mobile spin-off. The backlash was almost immediate. I think the most insulting part was game journalists tried their darndest to paint those complaining as entitled, conveniently leaving out the fact that fans had paid $200 for access and that Blizzard put a price on watching it via stream.
Because it's not like gaming companies have a history with screwing up their best franchises with bad mobile spin-offs.
Things got even worse when fans realized that Immortal was nothing more than an outsourced game from a Chinese company, and a possible reskin at that. This pretty much proved everything that fans were worried about. And their arrogance didn't help matters either.
Do you guys not have phones? You guys want
Since then, Blizzard has been awfully quiet regarding the game, leaving many to hope, wonder if the game was quietly cancelled.
Well, it's not all bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
I think
it's still around.
Oh, give us a break already!
Jesus Christ!
In the days of yore, Blizzard didn't need an intervention when it came to esports and actually handled competitive gaming gracefully. StarCraft Brood War was globally praised and managed to win over big-name sponsors just to watch it be played professionally. But of course, we've all seen this cycle before. One success, and the company starts squeezing all they can until the milk curdles. And boy, did it curdle. Not only are they trying way too hard to push for esports, but most of the time they just fail miserably at it. Where its predecessor succeeded, StarCraft 2 bombed badly thanks to Blizzard butting heads with the Korean Esports Association, meaning they lost a huge amount of league participants. Not only that, but Hearthstone can't seem to get its head on straight, Overwatch's competitive was a complete disaster, and WoW Arena was just an unbalanced mess. And of course, there's Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, goody! I gotta talk about how Blizzard killed Heroes of the Storm again!
Honey, don't you think it's time you let this one go?
Never!
In December of 2018, Blizzard announced that they were canceling the professional Heroes of the Storm leagues and would instead put more of its focus onto other competitive games. To their
Yeah,
credit,
that
they
didn't work
claim
out.
to still be offering support for the game in other ways. Trust me, I'm gonna hold that to
That's
them.
a fucking
However,
lie.
their decision to shift away from esports for the game left eager competitors high and dry and cost hundreds of developers and pro players their jobs. And the worst part of it? This was all announced on a blog post. Blizzard's
Seriously?
obsession with trying and failing to stay in the esports game led them to break countless gamers' hearts and leave their most important supporters out in the cold. In a blog
Really?
post!
You're so stupid! Stupid, stupid, stupid! Oh, and let's not forget, you're so stupid!
So yeah, Blizzard's
Thank
not
you,
that great with
Dexter.
esports, can't you tell? Like I said earlier, their main problem is that they try way too hard to make their games competitively viable. But they forget that a game is still a game, and sometimes trying to make everything competitive takes the fun out of it. And then that blindness leads to making even stupider decisions. Ergo, therefore, and thusly, the untimely abandonment of heroes.
Yeah, Josh is never gonna let them live it down. Oof. I mean, harsh, but fair, you know? Anyway, moving on. Final 3. Here we go. Yeah, it just seems like a weapon.
And now we gotta talk about a subject that I'm sure everyone will be civil about. Politics!
So, as a fine red-blooded American patriot, one thing I don't like is overreaching governments who censor people. But wait, you might ask, I thought we were talking about a private business. Don't worry, we are. But
We
this is
are.
a roller coaster of crazy and stupid. So on October 6, 2019, during the Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament
Here it
that
is.
happened in Taiwan, the event was live streamed with interviews on a couple of the players. One such player was blitzchung, who appeared on camera with a face mask similar to what Hong Kong protesters were wearing. After shouting out "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time," the stream was then immediately cut off. For those not in the know, China is a brutal totalitarian dictatorship that has recently tried imposing its will on the citizens of Hong Kong. And China does not take criticism well, just ask poor Pooh Bear and how he was banned from the country. Blizzard also does a lot of business with China, including outsourcing Diablo Immortals to them. And were the higher-ups at Blizzard happy that someone was trying to conflate their product with a movement that could lose them money?
No, they
Short
banned the
answer,
boy.
no. Long answer, Blizzard's response was
watch.
not only to kick him out of the current tournament, but also ban the professional player from competing in any other
ban
tournaments
him.
for a whole year. On top of that, to confiscate all of his winnings he had made so far. Oh, and they fired the hosts of the live stream too for good measure, because nothing says wrong thing more than
Seriously?
punishing people tangentially related to a perceived ill. The reasoning Blizzard gave was phenomenally idiotic, citing that there was a rule that if you offended the public or impugned Blizzard's image, they could kick you to the curb. But this rule was so generic and broad, it could apply to anything Blizzard saw fit. The public's response?
But there is no need to start a riot.
That's a great idea. Let's start a riot.
They did not take it well. People blasted Blizzard for bootlicking to the Chinese government, and more so for taking the nuclear option when dealing with it. Out of spite, people started using Blizzard's characters to promote free Hong Kong art, and many of the employees at Blizzard staged a walkout, and Blizzard CEOs even got a letter from Congress of all things. If there's any saving grace to this moment, it brought the political left and right together to agree
For
on
once.
something.
That must be the only thing those guys would agree on.
So, at least there was that. So after all this backlash, how does
Let me guess,
Blizzard
thing one?
respond at the next BlizzCon?
Blizzard had the opportunity to bring the world together in a tough Hearthstone esports moment about a month
Really?
ago.
They're trying to spin it as a
And
positive?
we did not.
Why, with half-hearted damage control that doesn't even mention China, Hong Kong, or blitzchung. The apology was so pathetically non-committal and fake, it should try running for office. I mean, look at this. Blizzard had the opportunity to bring the world together in a tough Hearthstone esports moment. A tough esports moment? The sheer
Seriously?
unmitigated gall
Yeah,
this
ban-
dope has
ban
to
someone
ruin a
for
person's
supporting-
livelihood and then try and not be
and
specific so
confiscating
he can
winnings,
play
too.
off this apology as sincere? I think Frazier said it best.
But he didn't say anything!
All in all, this
Thank
whole
you,
mess
Frazier.
has led to some people,
with you.
including some of my
Nothing.
staff, uninstalling every Blizzard game they own and boycotting the company until they stop being so scummy. And even with China's recent change in laws that now limit how much of a video game you can play and even controlling how much citizens can spend on video games at all, how's that business model looking for you now, Blizzard?
Yeah, honestly, I would let it go. Like, number 2.
Yep. Unfortunately, even Blizzard's guilty of mistreating most of their employees. It apparently didn't used to be like this. A lot of former employees would say how thrilled they were to start working for such a renowned company. Because face it, wouldn't that look good on a resume? Unfortunately, all that glitters isn't gold when they see the company's abysmal management. Probably their biggest offense is their food chain system for payment. Blizzard really holds those with seniority to the company in stupidly high regard. Those who have been in the company way longer end up getting a much higher pay cut, even if they don't really do anything. I don't want to say okay boomer just yet, but being buddy-buddy with the bigwigs and being around since the company was formed only takes you so far. Where does that leave those lower on the food chain?
We're rich.
Or now.
We're poor.
The base payment for the new guys is way lower than the industry should allow. Sure, they dangle the idea of big bonuses in front of their workers' eyes, but you actually have to pay the bonuses. You'd end up getting paid about 50% less than you'd earn working anywhere else. There have been stories of Blizzard workers having to get second jobs just to pay rent, and others having to live in communes just so they won't go homeless.
You are one of the most beloved game companies, making some of the most beloved games, and you can't pay your workers a living wage.
Well, welcome to the shit list.
You ever heard the phrase, don't bite the hand that feeds you? In Blizzard's case, they basically swipe money right out of the younger hands that keep the company afloat while giving freebies to those within their little inner circle. If you can't provide your employees with fair compensation, it's going to dissuade anyone who looks up to you from dedicating their time to working for you. Honestly, you'd think that hearing the stories from Konami or EA would have taught employers a thing or two about how to treat their workers.
But no, they just keep making the same mistakes.
Normalizing loot boxes. Just hearing those two words together says it all. Corrupted blood incident. Leave it to these guys to basically create the plague for the World of Warcraft universe.
Or coronavirus before it happens. One.
You are the chosen one! Bring balance to the force! Not leave it in darkness!
That sums it up.
If the last two lists didn't make it clear, both Activision and Blizzard are pretty sketchy with their businesses and development choices with their games. Blizzard as a whole is usually better as their failures haven't been as bad as Activision's, so we can give them a pass, right? Well, notice how most of the fails I mentioned happened after 2008. Notice how there's been a major shift in focus and design from Blizzard since then. Well, that's because when Activision messes up, Blizzard will get the same backlash. Why? Because they merged. In 2008, Activision and Blizzard's parent company Vivendi Games merged, and Blizzard changed its name to Activision Blizzard. While Blizzard is still independent in this deal, Activision still owned 52% of the newly merged company. However, in 2013, Vivendi was suffering from a huge debt of about $17 billion, and it started to take its toll on its game division. So, Activision Blizzard spent $18.9 billion to become independent from Vivendi, meaning Blizzard was completely fused with Activision instead of being an independent company. So, the new parent company is the newly formed Activision Blizzard. That means every fail on both of these lists for the last 6 years can be contributed to the management of this newly formed hybrid company. How stupid did Blizzard have to be to accept this? Well, okay, to be fair, it's not like they had a choice considering the financial debt Vivendi had, and it's not like they had a choice when the first merger happened. But at the same time, look where they are now, in the same spotlight as one of the worst gaming companies ever known. And again, we had a whole list on it, so no arguing against it. I suppose I can't fully blame Activision for this turnout, nor is Blizzard fully at fault, but since this merger, both the stocks and game quality of both companies started to go downhill. Destiny was a failure. World of Warcraft's player count is lower than ever. Overwatch and Hearthstone are becoming less popular by the day, and Diablo, StarCraft, and Warcraft are getting the shaft. If this keeps going, both companies are going down. And Blizzard doesn't deserve that.
I'm the fiery Joker. Yes.
Yeah, Val, but yeah, let's be real. Blizzard kind of made a bad mistake. Like, sure, they had to pay the debt, but I bet they're regretting it now, you know? I probably would. Tough day for them, huh? Anyway, so that's about it for the Blizzard fails, so I'll figure out what to do next. So until then, thanks for watching, everybody. See ya!